Welcome to the Spirit in Mind broadcast with your hosts, Bishop C. Guy Robinson and Dr. Jonathan Shepard, where we explore faith and mental health perspectives on current affairs. Let's get into today's discussion of the Spirit in Mind.
Well, great day, everyone, and welcome to Spirit in Mind, where we discuss current affairs with faith and mental health perspectives. I'm Bishop Guy Robinson, and I am grateful to have this opportunity to share with you today in all of our platforms, and grateful to have with us, of course, my colleague and co host, Dr. Jonathan Shepard. Great day, Dr. Shepard.
Hey, Bishop, how are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing very well. Celebrating this wonderful time of graduations and people achieving milestones. And it's just a wonderful day to be alive.
Absolutely, certainly. While we're broadcasting live right now, it is graduation season, and persons are getting ready and already in commencement mode, and we celebrate that. And congratulations to all of you. Grateful to be back. Listen, I've been on the road this week. Had an opportunity to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and other regions of the Southwest, El Paso. Met some amazing healthcare providers and services providers, as a guest lecturer for the University of New Mexico, and talking about mental health and spirituality. And I was just so encouraged by the number of service providers that are out there, and so that there's help and hope available, breaking the silence, breaking the stigma. About mental health and services so that we can be the best version of ourselves. And so, listen, real quick, if you're driving or whatever, let somebody know it's time for Spirit in Mind. And Dr. Shepard's going to tell you the ways that you can get connected, or let somebody know so that we can stay connected even between broadcasts. Dr. Shepard.
Absolutely, Bishop. And just as you heard that he was on the road traveling, doing work regarding mental health and spirituality, that's why we want you to stay in contact with us. You may want Bishop C. Guy Robinson, to come to your area in the United States or even outside of this country, as I do know that people listen in various countries to this particular broadcast. And so invite Bishop. You can reach out to him via his social media platforms. He has so many. He has Facebook, Instagram, CGR Ministries, at Instagram, Bishop G. Robinson, or you can go on over there on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. to the Tabernacle. That is a wonderful church here over on West Baltimore Street, and you will be glad you did. Please let Bishop know that you are listening and that you are following him. You can also follow me on my different social media platforms, Jonathan Shepard. You can also email me, and if you're in need of direct care services are those persons who need to be connected to a therapist, to a psychiatrist, to a mental health professional, so you can get the services that you needed, that you need. As you heard Bishop say, this is a wonderful time so that we can be in touch with one another. Spirit in Mind, we do have our own social media platforms. Please let us know. You can email us at spiritinmindhealth@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll be glad you did. That way, every time we go live, you'll get notified when we're going to be sharing important information with you. I'm so excited about what we're going to be doing today, Bishop. This is a wonderful time This is Mental Health Awareness Month. This is Mental Health
Yes.
Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So come on, let the people know that we are here to listen and to provide insight and knowledge to you all.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Dr. Shepard. And as Dr. Shepard said, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, the month of May, and it's a great time to get connected and prioritize mental health, your own personal mental health. In fact, we're excited here on Spirit and Mind. So as you connect with us in the different ways, you can call in today as we'll be talking about our discussion subject. You can call in on 443 380 2803. Did you catch it? Here it is again, 443 380 2803. We'd love to hear from you as we believe we have a relevant subject to discuss as we are talking about some of the most concerning mental health issues in the person or in the form of anxiety, stress, depression. We're talking about those. We started last week, and we want to continue in that very important conversation so that we can, again, break the stigma. So if you want to call in, again, one more time, we'll say it, and then Dr. Shepard is going to give us a runway to get started on today's discussion in our remaining time. But you can call in at 443 380 2803, and you'll be live on Spirit and Mind. Dr. Shepard.
Yes, Bishop. And so we're anticipating a wonderful discussion. We're discussing stress management. We want to know how you're handling the stress. You might wonder, well, Dr. Shepard, everybody has stress. Well, that is a true statement. Everyone does have stress. And what we started on last time during our series is talking about the different types of stress. Stress is normal. Stress is something that you cannot avoid. It is something that your body is made to handle. That really is an important point right there. You have to know that you're made to handle stress. And that's why it's so important to have people around you to know how to be able to help you to live through it, to manage through it, and not to allow it to take you out or take you under. There's three different types of stress. Number one, there is the acute stress. Acute stress is the body's reaction to a new or challenging situation. Emotions in the body return to their normal state relatively soon. So it's a new challenge. Today, we're anticipating phone calls. That could be a little bit stressful for us. It's a new challenge. But let me tell you, after we're done with the show, we're going to return back to our normal state. That's an acute stress situation. Then you have episodic acute stress. These are situations that cause or happen on a frequent basis. You find yourself in these acute stress situations on a frequent basis. Frequency, again, can be relative, but you know what frequent is for you. And there is no time to return to a relaxed and calm state. So once you hit that end button, there's something that seems to be waiting right there for you. And as we have gone through these last 3 years of the pandemic, we've seen cumulative grief where it seems like loss after loss after loss, just buried one person, just lost a job, just lost my ability to communicate. And then here comes something else that can put us in a episodic acute stress. And then the last one is chronic stress, where you have stressors that continue for a long period of time, never ending. And it's difficult to see improvements or changes in the situation. And we can find ourselves there in so many different areas. Those who live in Baltimore City, we found ourselves in some chronic stress situations as we deal with the continuous violence that so many of our neighborhoods are in. One of my dear colleagues, Lauren Henderson, she wrote an article in the Chicago Sun-Times. I encourage you to go there and look at it this past week, talking about the violence and how it affects Black females in particular, and how mothers are so scared to allow their children to go outside because of the violence. And they don't want to raise their children in areas where there's chronic stress. And the stress, Bishop, will allows you to break down. It causes your immune system to not function properly. You're paranoid, you're jumpy, you're very sensitive. So these are just three different areas, and we'll deal with all of these areas today, or as much as we're able to in our time. But these are stress reactions. So stress is real, and I hope that these examples I gave you will show you that you're not alone. Stress is okay to handle, or stress is okay to have. We want to show you how to be able to handle it, and that's what we look forward in this discussion.
Oh, Dr. Shepard, thank you. That's such an important segue and introduction for us today. And I hope you heard Dr. Shepard if you're listening today. Different forms of stress. In this life, stress happens. The spiritual equivalent is Jesus said in the scriptures, in this life, you will have trials and tribulations. Not you might have, but you will have. And so stress happens in this life. And so it's all about, I want to suggest for your consideration, us having effective coping strategies. Some of you have heard me before say coping strategies are like levees. Levees are like that holds back the flood. So it's not that the flood is not there, but the levees are there to handle and deal with the flood. But every now and then, or depending on whether it's episodic or chronic, the storm waters are a little too great for the levees that we have, and we need some reinforcements. It's reminiscent of when places like Hurricane Katrina, it wasn't the absence of levees, but it was the inefficiency of the levees for the size of the storm, and it overwhelmed those levees. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, and they called for reinforcements, U.S. Army of Engineers, Corps of Engineers came in and strengthened the levees. And that's what we hope to inspire today, because when you're overwhelmed, Dr. Shepard gave you some symptoms. Your immune system is beginning to show physical signs, and relationships are suffering, and you're finding yourself irritable or overwhelmed. And some people blow up, other people clam up, and losing sleep and worrying. So when your heart is overwhelmed, and if so, it's okay to call for some help to strengthen and buffer those levees, so that you can stand strong. And so that's so very important. So Dr. Shepard is going to lead us a little further in this conversation. And again, if you'd like to call in, our number is 443-380-2803 right here, Praise 106 on Spirit and Mind. Dr. Shepard.
Absolutely. I just want to encourage those who are listening, and you might say, I don't want to get on there and tell my business. Trust me, we're not in the business of fronting people out or embarrassing people. But as Bishop has said, we want to help. Let me tell you, the best way to help is when you share and when you're able to be transparent and show your vulnerable side. I've seen that so many times when I share with people my personal stories of how I've had to manage stress. And, even as we go into this next segment, I want to share with you, we've all had stressful situations. I look at what happens when your body goes through stress. We all have what's called pressure points on our body. There's physical points on your body that if I wanted to take you out, that I don't even have to use a weapon. I'll just utilize those physical or pressure points on your body and you'll go out. Oh, Dr. Shepard, how was that? Well, I was a big wrestling fan. And so there was a sleeper hold. And they didn't use a weapon. All they had to do was get you in that sleeper hole and you were gone. You had no clue what was happening around you. And that's what happens, is that when you find yourself in a pressure point where you can no longer breathe, you can no longer escape. I like how Bishop was talking about when we find ourselves overwhelmed, where do we go? And so these pressure points are real. So I gave the physical pressure point, but what happens mentally when you're challenged? What happens with those mental pressure points? Those sensitive, critical areas in your life that are battling against you. Let's look at some of what those areas could be. Stress, number one, absolutely. Loss and grief, we talked about that. But what happens when your physical skills are declining as you age? And actually, Bishop, you don't even have to age now. I'm hearing about people getting knee and hip replacements, not even 50 years old, because the body is just worn down. And when that happens, that messes with your mind. You can't jump as hard or high. You can't walk as fast. That messes with your mind. Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, burnout. You heard that word. So many people have utilized it and utilized it incorrectly. So you have those different things. So we want to hear about those different pressure points that people are going through. This causes acute, episodic acute, or even chronic stress. And then I'll just end with this one: trauma. You know, we have been traumatized. It's interesting how the World Health Organization ended the emergency declaration for the COVID-19 pandemic just 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday it was. Isn't that something? And I know people are like, well, wait a minute. The emergency is still going on in my life. It's still happening. And that trauma that so many of us have now learned how to just push aside and not deal with, that causes you stress. And so when people heard that, Bishop, I saw people even get like kind of wound up. Are you sure? Are you sure it's over? That's stress. So let me tell you all, we want to go ahead and Bishop, take it from here. I'm not sure if we got any phone calls yet, but we want to provoke people to share with us where are your pressure points and how you're dealing with them.
Absolutely. We're doing pressure checks and levy checks. And so we do actually have a caller. And so we want to take a moment to hear from caller that is with us. Hello, caller. You are with us live on Spirit and Mind. Hello. Hello. Welcome to Spirit and Mind. How can we help you today? Oh, thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. And do you listen? So since we have you here, would you care to share maybe one way that you keep your levies up, or that helps you to cope with your stresses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wow, I love it. Wow, pray about it, live, listen to God, and come up with an action plan. Thank you for calling. Our first call on Spirit and Mind, and thank you for sharing your experience as well. Wow. So listen, you as well. Blessings. So listen. Oh my goodness, Carla helped us out. Psalm 61. She said she prays about it, and there is precedent for that. Psalm 61 says, "When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I." Again, because we're doing pressure and levy checks. See, we got pressure. Okay, how's your levies? How are you holding up under the pressure? And the psalmist said, "When my heart is overwhelmed," he didn't say if, he didn't, but he said when, because life sometimes gets a little overwhelming. He says, "I go to the rock." And then Prophet Isaiah helped us out. He said, when the enemy comes in like a flood, then the Lord, the Spirit of the Lord, shall lift up a standard against it. Oh my goodness. And so we thank God because prayer does give strategy. And sometimes part of that strategy is to talk to someone whom the Lord has appointed and anointed to move us to the next stage of wellness. And so, again, we're breaking the silence, breaking the stigma. It's Mental Health Month. It's okay to not be okay, but to be in the process of going after help because there is help and hope. Dr. Shepard, I want to give you a chance to respond to certainly and address our caller.
Absolutely. That was wonderful. Uh, Action plan, man.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Because sometimes we do what we're supposed to do, what we've been taught to do, but we don't make the action. We don't put into play. It's almost like sitting through a training. I got a football jersey on. It's like sitting through a practice, and then you done did all the work, but you don't put the practice into action. That's what happens many times when we are communicating with God, when we're praying with God. He said, I heard you. All right. He said, I heard you the first time. And so he's waiting for us to put into action now. As our caller, and thank you so much for your courage and your braveness, and please encourage others to even call. I was reminded, even as I'm studying, Bishop, the power of your words, the power of your words. And even this morning, as in my meditation, I was thinking about self-induced stress, SIS as I call it, self-induced stress.
Mm, yeah.
So many of us. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed, Dr. Shepherd. I'm so this, I'm so that. Trust me, I'm not coming for you. I'm not making fun of you. But some of our stress, much of our stress is self-induced. And so I began to think about that and look at the power of our words, you know. And one thing that stood out to me, just a phrase, is that you cannot rise above what you allow yourself to think or say. Wow. You cannot rise above about what you allow yourself to think or say. And so I was thinking about that this morning as I was trying to think about how to manage the stress. And so when we talk about the stress and we can identify what category it is, don't just stay there. Develop the action plan. That's my point.
Mm,
Develop the action plan. Lord, you know I'm stressed. You already spoke that. Now let's speak what the solutions are. Let's speak how we're able to move forward. And this is why the purpose of this show is so important. This is why we started the show, so we can help move you, propagate you, progress you. If
yeah.
that's a verb, if I could use it right there, get you going, light the fire under you, so that you can rise above. Because let me tell you, you cannot rise above unless what you are saying is in action with what God has said about you. If you're timid about it, you're gonna end up remaining right there in that stressful situation.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. So let's stay with that action plan because there's a scripture that is not only sound theology but also good psychology in it. When we're talking about developing this action plan, as we discuss stress and anxiety, James. I'm reminded of James in chapter 1, verse 24. He starts talking about being not just hearers of a word
Mhm.
but doers of a word and putting to practice the insight that we receive. He says someone who hears the word and doesn't do anything is like a person who looks in the mirror and then walks away and forgot what they look like. So he says that's how important it is. I pray that what we're sharing today will stay with you, and that's really why we're helping to or striving to break the silence about stress and distress and anxiety and depression because there is an action plan and that's where you get help. And so you break the silence. That's what it's about, getting the treatment. It's about, going to the Lord in prayer. Sometimes the Lord answers with a strategy. Get up, go to the potter's house, rise up, take up your bed and walk. Go, show yourself to the priest. That same God can say, go, talk to your pastor about your situation. Go, talk, make a therapist appointment so that you can begin to become a doer, an action plan to put what you've heard into practice. But don't just walk away and forget about the revelation and the information that you've received today. Dr. Shepherd, we got a few minutes left, so we certainly want to have some closing thoughts from you, Dr. Shepherd.
Absolutely. So we want to think about the pressure checks, the levy checks. This week, look at where you're at. Not just because of what's coming up against you, not because of the pressures of life or how much they're building. Do a pressure check. And many times you need to involve someone, engage another person in doing a pressure check. You should have good friends, good counselors around you, family members, friends, parents, your spiritual leaders, even your coworkers, coaches. Some people who can, they can say, "Hey, Shepherd, hmm, you know." it looks like you're not handling that stress too well. And we have to be able to be okay with that. We're teaching you how to be able to manage the stress. When you're doing that pressure check, you want to make sure that you have those persons next to you so that you'll be able to handle and be able to move forward, develop that action plan. I'll say this and I'm done. When you develop plans, it's not really a good plan if you only develop it yourself. You need to have somebody check that plan with you. You need to make sure that you have other people who you can say, wait a minute, is this the area? Is this the thing that I need to make sure I'm focusing on? Because let me tell you, we have a lot of blind spots, Bishop, as we've talked about before. So we want to make sure that as you're developing the action plan, and we'll talk more about this as we continue this series, what an action plan can look like. I love that word, but we want to make sure you're not just doing it by yourself. Have and engage the other people in your circle so that you can go through these turbulent times that we are living in, but we want you to come out successfully.
Absolutely. I hope you heard those three concluding points for today in addressing stress in this very stressful age. Have a prayer life, have an action plan, and have an accountability circle. A prayer life, an action plan, and an accountability circle. Oh my goodness. And make those calls, do what you need to do to be okay. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. Prioritize your cognitive, emotional, and behavioral health. And we thank you. Listen, let someone know what we're doing here on Spirit in Mind, where we are discussing current events with faith and mental health perspectives. And we want to encourage you to keep in touch with us by all the ways we mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast. And by the grace of God, we look forward to seeing you next time on Spirit in Mind.
Did you want to talk to Dr. Shepard?
Did you need to talk to Dr. Shepard?
No, I'm okay.
And also on Instagram at Spirit in Mind Live.
Just say, wow, she's gone.
For a new episode of Spirit in Mind.
Can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's still on here.
Okay. I'll check in with him.
All right. Anything else?